Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you there's a way to get anything you want just by sleeping? Not magic, not luck, but a hidden law of the universe. Almost no one uses right. And if you've ever felt stuck, overlooked, or like life's against you, this changes everything. You've been taught to hustle, grind, and force things to happen. But the ancient masters knew something different. Real power isn't in chasing, it's in allowing. In this video, you'll learn how to align with the universe so deeply that what you ask for comes to you effortlessly. And it starts the moment you close your eyes. The nightfall mistake. Most people think sleep is just downtime. A pause, a blank space between days where nothing happens. But that's the first mistake, the one that keeps them stuck because your mind doesn't shut off. When you do, it's wide awake. In another way, replaying everything you fed it during the day. Your fears, your doubts, the reasons you don't have what you want. And here's the truth. No one tells you. The universe is always listening. Not to your words, but to your energy, to the signals you're sending when you're not even aware of it. Think about it. When you go to bed worrying about money, replaying that argument, stressing over what you don't have, what are you actually doing? You're not just thinking, you're practicing. You're rehearsing the exact reality you claim you don't want. And the universe, like a mirror, has no choice but to reflect it back. That's why some people seem to attract opportunities without trying. They're not lucky, they're not special, they just understand this one rule. What you focus on at night doesn't disappear. It grows. Your mind in those quiet hours before sleep is like fertile soil. Plant a seed of lack and lack will flourish. Plant a seed of gratitude and gratitude will multiply. But most people don't realize they're holding the seeds. They think reality is something that happens to them, not through them. So they lie there scrolling through what's missing, what's wrong, what's unfair, and then wonder why nothing changes. Here's the shift tonight. Instead of letting your mind wander into the same old stories, try this. Close your eyes and ask yourself one question. If I already had what I wanted, how would I feel right now? Not tomorrow. Not when it shows up now. That feeling, that deep quiet certainty is the language the universe understands. Not your words, not your plans, your state. Because here's what they don't teach you. Desire is just lack in disguise. When you beg, when you obsess, when you scream into the void, why don't I have this yet? You're not asking, you're pushing it away. The universe doesn't respond to needing. It responds to alignment, to the quiet confidence of someone who knows the train is coming. So they don't pace the platform. They just wait. This isn't about positive thinking. This is about energy management. Every night you're either building a bridge or digging a hole. Most people dig. They go to bed with their mind racing through everything that's wrong, then wake up exhausted, carrying that weight into the next day, and the cycle continues. But the ones who get what they want, they don't fight reality. They don't resist what is. They simply decide this is how it is for now, but not how it stays. Then they let go. Let me tell you a secret. The universe loves speed, but not the kind you think. It's not about how fast you hustle, it's about how fast you align. When you drop the resistance, when you stop arguing with what is, the path clears itself, and it starts the moment you close your eyes. So tonight, don't just sleep. Prepare. Your mind is the last thing you touch before you drift off, and the first thing you pick up when you wake. That space in between, that's where the real work happens. The silent language. Words are clumsy. They're slow. They get tangled in translation between your mind and the world. Here, but emotion. Those are instant universal language. Think of the universe like a mirror. It doesn't care what you say. It reflects what you are. When you beg for something, when you chant affirmations you don't believe, when you scream into your journal, I am abundant, while your stomach knots with fear. What are you really telling the universe? You're saying, I don't have this, and I'm scared I never will. And guess what? It agrees with you. Here's the truth. No one wants to hear. You're always manifesting every second. Not just when you're meditating or writing in your gratitude journal. When you wake up dreading the day, you're manifesting. When you scroll through social media comparing your life, you're manifesting. When you replay that conversation where someone wronged you, you're manifesting. The question isn't if you're doing it, it's what you're doing with it. Most people think manifestation is some mystical process where you close your eyes and poof, a check arrives. But it's much simpler than that. It's the law of resonance, like a tuning fork. You vibrate at a certain frequency and the universe matches. Not because it's punishing or rewarding you, but because it's physics. Energy can't help but respond to energy. So how do you change it? Not by forcing, not by pretending, but by allowing. Tonight, instead of pleading for a change, try this. Sit quietly for just 1 minute and feel what it would feel like to already have it. Not the thing itself, the relief of it, the peace, the weight of your shoulders. That's the signal the universe understands. Not your words, not your vision board, the sigh of already being there. Because here's the paradox. You can't want something and have it at the same time. Wanting keeps it at arm's length. It says this is mine, but not yet. In the universe, he is not yet louder than anything. But when you assume it's already yours, when you act as if the train is already coming, that's when the tracks appear. This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about practicing the end the same way an athlete visualizes the shot before taking it, or a musician hears the song before playing it. You're not delusional, you're trained. And the more you live from the end, the faster the middle collapses. So tonight, don't ask, don't beg, don't chant. Just be. The universe isn't some distant force you need to convince. It's the echo of your own. And once you understand that, everything changes. The 10-minute pre-sleep ritual. The last 10 minutes before sleep are the most important hours of your day. Most people waste them. They scroll through news that makes them angry. They watch shows that drain them. They replay arguments they can't change. Then they wonder why they wake up tired, why life feels heavy, why nothing seems to shift. But here's what they don't realize. The mind doesn't shut off when you close your eyes. It goes deeper. And whatever you feed it in those final moments sets the tone for everything that follows. Think of your mind like wet cement in those last moments before sleep. Whatever you press into it, whatever thought, whatever feeling hardens overnight. Most people press in stress, regret, lack. Then they wake up confused when their life feels exactly the same. But what if you did something different? What if instead of letting the world dictate your state, you took control? Not with effort, not with force, but with a simple ritual. One that doesn't require belief, just action. Here's how it works. First, release the day. Not by analyzing it, not by judging it, just by letting it go. Whisper one sentence. What's done is done. I let it go. That's it. You don't have to feel it. You don't have to believe it. Just say it. Because here's the truth. The universe doesn't negotiate with your past. It only responds to your present. And when you cling to what's already happened, you're anchoring yourself in a reality that no longer exists. So let it go. Not for the day's sake. But then morning comes and without thinking you reach for your phone. You check your bank balance. You scroll through social media comparing your life to others. You wonder why hasn't it happened yet? And just like that, you've uprooted everything. This is where nearly everyone fails. They treat the morning like it's separate from the night. Like what they do when they're awake has nothing to do with they planted in the dark. But here's the truth. They never tell you. Manifestation isn't a one-time event, it's a continuous state. And the moment you switch from knowing to doubting, you break the connection. It's like building a bridge all night, then burning it down each morning. Think of it like this. When you plant a seed in the earth, you don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing, you trust the process. You know it's working underground even when you can't see it. Your desires work the same way. The universe is always moving things, always arranging, always working behind the scenes. But when you panic, when you need proof, when you can't stand not knowing how it will happen, that's when you interrupt the process. That's when you tell the universe, never mind, I'll do it myself. And the universe, being the perfect servant, it steps back and lets you. This is why mornings are so crucial. The first thoughts you think, the first actions you take set the tone for your entire day. Most people wake up and immediately reinforce their old story. They check their empty bank account and feel lack. They look at their ex's profile and feel heartbreak. They scroll job listings and feel desperation. Then they wonder why nothing changes. But the ones who get what they want, they do something different. They protect that morning space like it's sacred. Because it is. Here's what they understand that most don't. The universe speaks in feelings, not facts. When you wake up and choose to feel like it's already done, not because you see evidence, but because you've decided, that's when magic happens. You're not lying to yourself. You're not pretending. You're living from the end. And the universe has no choice but to match that energy. So tomorrow morning, Try this. Before you reach for your phone, before you check anything, take just 60 seconds. Breathe. Remember what you planted last night. Feel the certainty that it's coming. Not because you see it, because you know it. Then go about your day from that place. Not checking, not obsessing, just living as if it's already yours. This isn't about ignoring reality. It's about creating a new one. The old reality will fight back. It will whisper, "This isn't working." It will show you all the reasons to doubt. But here's the secret. Those thoughts don't matter. What matters is which ones you feed. The more you feed certainty, the stronger it grows. The more you feed doubt, the more power you give it. It's always your choice. The bridge between worlds is fragile at first. One moment of doubt can snap it. But if you can maintain that connection, if you can stay in that knowing, even when everything around you says otherwise, that's when the impossible becomes inevitable. That's when doors you didn't even know existed swing open, because the universe always gives you what you truly believe, not what you beg for. And belief isn't something you have. It's something you practice every morning, every moment, starting now. The 3-second reset. Doubt doesn't knock politely at your door. It crashes in uninvited in the middle of your day when you're least expecting it. One moment you're fine, moving through your routine, feeling certain. The next a whisper, "This isn't working, nothing's changing, maybe it's all nonsense." And just like that, the bridge you've been building starts to crumble. Most people don't even realize it's happening. They let the doubt sit there, grow, take root, until suddenly they're back where they started, confused, wondering why nothing ever works for them. But there's another way, a faster way, and it takes exactly 3 seconds. Here's what no one tells you about doubt. It's not your enemy. It's not some flaw in your character. It's just an old habit, a well-worn path in your mind that your thoughts naturally fall into, like a river cutting through rock over time. Those neural pathways are deep. But here's the secret. You don't have to fill in the entire river to change its course. You just need to redirect it one thought at a time. That's what the 3-second reset does. It's not about fighting doubt. It's about redirecting your focus so quickly that doubt doesn't have time to settle in. The method is simple, but its power is in the doing. When you feel that familiar sinking sensation, that creeping uncertainty, you don't argue with it. You don't try to reason your way out. You simply pause. Stop mid-thought as if someone pressed a freeze frame on your mind. This pause is crucial. It creates space between you and the doubt. For most people, thoughts come and go without any awareness. They're on autopilot, carried along by whatever mental current is strongest. But when you pause, you step out of that current. You become the observer instead of the passenger. Then breathe, just one slow inhale. Not because breathing is magical, but because it anchors you in your body. Doubt lives in the future. What if this never happens, or in the past? Nothing's worked before, but your breath is always now. That single inhale pulls you back to the present moment where your power actually resides. It's not about deep breathing exercises or meditation techniques. It's about using your breath as a reset button, a way to short-circuit the doubt spiral before it gains momentum. Finally, replace. This is where most people get stuck. They try to stop thinking the negative thought without putting something better in its place. But nature abs a vacuum, and so does your mind. If you simply try to stop thinking this isn't working, your brain will keep circling back to it. Instead, you consciously choose the replacement thought. It's already done. Not as a lie, not as wishful thinking, but as a declaration of how you're choosing to see the world now. The words matter less than the feeling behind them. That quiet certainty that what you seek is already on its way. This isn't denial. It's not pretending problems don't exist. It's reclaiming your position as the creator of your experience rather than the victim of it. When you do this consistently, something shifts. The doubts don't disappear, but they lose their power. They become like background noise, present but irrelevant to your focus. And over time, those new neural pathways become the default. The river changes course. The beauty of this method is in its simplicity. You don't need special tools or perfect conditions. You don't need to retreat from the world or spend hours in meditation. Life will keep happening. Bills will come. Relationships will challenge you. Setbacks will occur. But in the middle of all that, you have this 3-second tool. Pause, breathe, replace. That's all. Not complicated, not time-consuming, just effective. Most spiritual teachings make this process seem bigger than it needs to be. They talk about years of practice, about achieving certain states of consciousness. But the truth is much simpler. Transformation happens in moments in the space between one thought and the next, in those 3 seconds, when you choose differently. That's where your power lives. Not in some distant future, when you've perfected yourself right now in your next thought, in your next breath, in your next choice. So when doubt comes, and it will, don't fear it, don't fight it, just reset. 3 seconds is all it takes to change everything. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes, until one day you realize you've stopped counting seconds altogether. You simply become someone who knows without needing to try. And that's when the magic happens. The invisible middle, the most important part of the journey, is the part you can't see. That quiet, empty space between planting the seed and seeing the first sprout. Between asking and receiving, between knowing it's coming and holding it in your hands. This is where nearly everyone gives up. Not because they are weak, not because they don't want it enough, but because no one told them the secret. Nothing looks like it's working right before it works. Think about how nature operates. A seed underground shows no visible signs of growth. For days, sometimes weeks, to the impatient observer, it might seem like nothing is happening, but beneath the surface, everything is happening. Roots are spreading downward, preparing to support what will eventually break through the soil. The plant isn't hesitating. It isn't second-guessing. It's simply doing what it knows to do, trusting the process, following its natural rhythm. Your dreams operate the same way. Just because you can't see movement doesn't mean nothing is moving. This invisible middle is where the real work happens. It's where the universe tests not your desire that was never in question, but your faith, your ability to hold the vision when all external evidence says otherwise. Most people misinterpret this phase. They think the silence means they're doing something wrong, that the lack of visible progress is proof it's not working. So they dig up the seed to check on it. They change their approach, they start over, and in doing so, they interrupt the very process they set in motion. Here's what they don't understand. The universe communicates through alignment, not reassurance. The need for constant signs for proof that it's working is actually what keeps it from working. Imagine a farmer planting seeds and digging them up every day to check their progress. The seeds would never have time to grow. Your dreams are no different. The invisible middle isn't an obstacle. It's a necessary part of the process. It's the universe's way of asking, how badly do you want this? How firmly do you believe? This is where most teachings fail people. They make it sound die if you just think the right thoughts for a few days. The universe will deliver your desires on a silver platter. But real manifestation isn't about instant gratification. It's about developing the spiritual maturity to trust what you can see. To understand that the longer you can hold a vision without needing validation, the stronger your signal becomes. Like a radio tower sending out a consistent frequency. The signal doesn't get stronger by constantly adjusting the dial. It gets stronger by staying steady. The invisible middle is also where your old patterns will fight hardest to reassert themselves. The voice that says this is taking too long, or maybe it's not meant to be, will grow loudest here. Not because it's true, but because it's familiar. The mind prefers familiar suffering over unfamiliar possibilities. That's why this phase feels uncomfortable. You're literally outgrowing your old self, your old ways of thinking. Of course, it feels strange. Growth always does. But here's the beautiful paradox. The moment you stop needing it to happen is usually when it does. Not because the universe is playing games with you, but because that's when you finally achieve true alignment. When you've released the desperate energy of lack and settled into the quiet knowing of already having it. This isn't giving up. It's leveling up. It's moving from wanting to having even before the physical evidence appears. So how do you navigate this invisible middle? You do what the seed does. You stay the course. You keep your focus on the end result, not the lack of visible progress. You trust that roots are spreading even when you can't see them. You understand that the bigger the dream, the stronger the roots need to be, and that takes time. Most importantly, you don't abandon the process just because it's not happening on your time. The invisible middle is where ordinary people turn back. But you're not ordinary. You understand that this quiet space is actually the most fertile ground for miracles, that what appears to be nothing is actually everything in the making. So when you find yourself in this space, when doubt creeps in and patience wears thin, remember this isn't the universe denying you. This is the universe preparing you for what's coming. It's better than what you've asked for. But first, you must walk through the invisible middle to reach it. The unexpected delivery. The universe has a sense of humor. You ask for something with a specific image in mind, how it should look when it should come, the exact form it should take, and then life delivers it in a way you never saw coming. This is where most people miss their blessings. Not because they weren't answered, but because the answer didn't match the picture they had in their head. They wanted money, so they stare at their bank account waiting for it. Meanwhile, the universe sends an opportunity, a connection, a solution to a problem they didn't even realize was costing them. But they overlook it because it didn't come in the envelope they expected. This is the great illusion of manifestation. We think we are asking for things, but what we're really asking for is solutions. The universe doesn't care about the method, only the result. You want financial freedom. It doesn't have to be a lottery win. It could be a skill you learned that changes your income. A chance meeting with someone who opens a door, or even an unexpected shift in perspective that makes you realize you already have enough. You want love. It might not come through a dating app or a blind date set up by friends. It might come when you're least expecting it, in a coffee shop, at the gym, or through a reconnection with someone from your past. The universe doesn't follow human rules. It follows energy, and energy flows where attention goes, but not always in the way you think. The problem isn't that the universe isn't listening. It's that we're terrible at recognizing the reply. We get fixated on the how instead of the what. We decide in advance what the path should look like. And when life takes a different road, we assume we've been ignored. But the truth is, the universe is far more creative than we are. It sees connections we can't. It knows shortcuts we don't. And it will always choose the path of least resistance. Even if that path makes no sense to you right now, think about it. If you had to get from one city to another, you might assume you need to drive the entire way. But what if there's a train you didn't know about, or a flight that cuts the time in half? The universe operates like that. It doesn't just hand you what you ask for. It hands you the fastest, smoothest, most efficient way to get there. But if you're stubbornly staring at the road, convinced that driving is the only way, you might miss the plane ticket that just landed in your lap. This is why so many people give up right before the breakthrough. They've decided how their answer should arrive. And when it doesn't show up that way, they assume it's not coming. They quit. They change direction. They decide the whole thing was a waste of time. And then sometimes years later, they look back and realize the opportunity was there all along. It just didn't look the way they thought it would. So how do you avoid this? How do you make sure you don't miss what's being handed to you? First, you have to release the how completely. You don't get to dictate the method. Your only job is to know what you want and stay open to the infinite ways it can arrive. If you're fixated on one specific path, you're limiting the universe's ability to deliver. It's like ordering food at a restaurant and then insisting the chef cook it exactly the way you would at home. You ask for the meal. Let them prepare it their way. You might discover something better than you could have imagined. Second, you have to train yourself to recognize the signs. This isn't about waiting for a literal sign from the sky. It's about paying attention to synchronicities, to unexpected opportunities, to the things that keep showing up in your life even when you weren't looking for them. The universe communicates through patterns. Maybe you keep hearing the same song everywhere you go. Maybe a certain name or phrase keeps popping up. Maybe you meet 3 different people in a week who all mention something oddly specific. These aren't coincidences, they're breadcrumbs. Follow them. Third, and this is the hardest part, you have to act when the opportunity appears. Most people freeze when the moment actually comes. They hesitate. They second guess. They think this can't be it. It's too easy. It's too strange. It's not what I pictured. And so they let it pass by. Don't do it. If something feels right, if it aligns with your energy, if it gives you that quiet yes in your gut, move. Even if you don't have the full picture yet, even if it doesn't make logical sense, the universe doesn't send you the entire map up front. It sends you one step at a time. Your job is to take the first one. Finally, you have to trust the time. Just because you don't see movement doesn't mean nothing is happening. The universe operates in cycles, in seasons. You don't plant a seed and then dig it up the next day because nothing's grown. You water it. You give it sunlight. You wait. Your dreams are no different. The delivery might not come when you want it to, but it will always come at the right time when you're truly ready to receive it. So stay open, stay alert, and most importantly, stay out of the universe's way, you ask. Now let the answer in its own time, in its own way. The less you cling to the how, the faster the what can arrive. And when it does, you'll realize it was better than anything you could have planned yourself. The dark night practice. There will come nights when it all feels pointless. When you go through the motions of your ritual, whispering your words of gratitude, visualizing your desires, but your heart isn't in it. The magic is gone. The connection feels broken. You stare at the ceiling wondering if any of this actually works or if you've just been fooling yourself this whole time. These are the nights that separate those who get what they want from those who don't. Not because of some special technique. Not because of heightened spiritual powers, but because of one simple choice. You do it anyway. This is the practice no one talks about. The unglamorous, unsexy discipline of showing up when nothing seems to be working, when the universe feels silent, when your faith is weak. Most people only practice when they feel inspired, when the signs are clear, when the energy is high. But that's not practice. That's riding the wave. Real mastery happens in the dark nights, when you sit with yourself, even though every cell in your body wants to get up and say, "This is stupid." When you continue not because you feel connected, but because you committed. This is where the real transformation happens. Not in the light, but in the willingness to sit through the dark. Think of it training for anything else. A runner doesn't only run when the weather is perfect. A musician doesn't only practice when inspiration strikes. They show up on the bad days too. The days when their legs feel heavy, when their fingers fumble, because they understand something fundamental. Consistency creates conditions for miracles, not the other way around. Your spiritual practice is no different. The nights when you feel nothing are actually the most important nights of all. They're the ones that build your spiritual muscle, the ones that prove to yourself this isn't just about getting what you want, it's about who you become in the process. Here's what they don't tell you about manifestation. It's not a straight line. It's not a steady upward climb where every day feels better than the last. It's more like a spiral. Some days you'll feel connected, aligned, certain. Other days it will feel like you're back at square one. This isn't a sign you're doing it wrong. It's a sign you're doing it right. Growth isn't linear. The universe tests your commitment, not when things are easy, but when they're hard. Not when the signs are clear, but when they're absent. These dark nights are your initiation into real power. The mind will try to trick you during these times. It will whisper that you should stop wasting your time. That if this really worked, you'd feel something by now. That maybe you're just not cut out for this. Don't listen. These thoughts are just old patterns fighting for the voice of your former self, trying to pull you back into familiar territory, the territory where dreams stay. Dreams and nothing ever changes. But you're different now. You know too much to go back, so you sit through the discomfort. You do the practice anyway, not because you're guaranteed a result tonight, but because this is who you are now. Someone who shows up regardless. There's a hidden wisdom in these dark nights. They teach you to separate your practice from your immediate feelings. They show you that your commitment isn't dependent on external validation, that you can sit in the unknown and be okay. This is where true power lives, not in the flashy moments of spiritual highs, but in the quiet determination to keep going when nothing seems to be happening. This is the foundation everything else is built upon. The mirror seems blank on these nights. You look for signs, for feelings, for any indication that this is working and find nothing. But here's the secret. The mirror isn't blank. You're just looking at it through a filter of expectation. You wanted to reflect back what you think progress should look like. But real progress often looks like nothing at all. Like empty space, like silence. This is the universe's way of asking, can you trust me even now? Even here, even when there's no proof. The masters of any discipline understand this. They know the value of showing up on the bad days. The days when the pain won't flow right. When the words won't come. When the body won't cooperate. They know these are the days that count the most. Because anyone can stay committed when it's easy. The real test comes when it's hard. Your spiritual practice is no different. The dark nights aren't obstacles, they're opportunities, chances to prove to yourself that your commitment runs deeper than fleeting emotions. So tonight, if you sit down to practice and feel nothing, don't panic. Don't quit. Don't decide it's not working. Just breathe. Just show up. Just do it anyway. Not for the results, for the practice, for the discipline, for the person you're becoming through showing up even when, especially when it feels like nothing is happening. Because here's the truth no one tells you. These are the nights that build real faith. Not the faith that comes from signs and wonders, but the faith that remains even in their absence. And that kind of faith that's unshakable. That's where miracles live. The final key, the secret, isn't in the asking. It never was. All this time you've been focused on what you want from the universe, when the real question is, what does the universe see when it looks at you? That's the missing piece. That's the final key. The universe doesn't respond to your words. It doesn't care about your plans. It only recognizes one thing: who you believe yourself to be in this moment, not tomorrow. Not when you get what you want. Right now, this changes everything. Most people approach manifestation backwards. They think, when I have the money, then I'll feel abundant. Or, when I'm in the relationship, then I'll feel loved. But that's not how this works. The feeling comes first. The being comes first. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And every night when you close your eyes, you're showing the universe exactly who you believe yourself to be. Not through your words, through your energy, through that quiet, unshakable knowing beneath all thought. That's what the universe responds to. That's what creates your reality. Think about it like this. If you're standing in front of a mirror complaining that the reflection won't change, how would that work? The mirror can only show you what's standing in front of it. Your life works the same way. The universe is simply reflecting back to you your dominant state of being. Not what you say you want, not what you pretend to believe, but what you actually deep down know yourself to be. This is why techniques fail most people. They are trying to change the reflection without changing what's standing in front of the mirror. Here's what they don't teach you. Desire is just a symptom of lack. When you want something, you're actually reinforcing that you don't have it. That's why begging the universe never works. That's why visualization often fails. Because at the core, you're still coming from, I don't have this. The shift happens when you move from wanting to having. Not in the physical sense yet, but in your knowing. When you can lie down at night and feel like someone who already has what you're asking for, that's when everything changes. Not because you're tricking the universe, because you've become a match for what you're asking for. This is why sleep is so powerful. In those moments before you drift off, when your logical mind quiets down, your subconscious speaks loudest. That's when you're most honest with yourself about who you really believe you are. Most people go to sleep feeling like someone who's waiting for their life to begin. Someone who's hoping, wishing, wanting. But the ones who get what they want, they've learned to sleep as the person who already has it. Not in an arrogant way, not in a delusional way, but in a quiet, natural way, like someone who isn't surprised when good things happen to them because they know it's who they are. The world will try to convince you otherwise. It will tell you that you have to see it to believe it. That proof comes first, but the truth is exactly the opposite. Belief comes first, then the proof follows. This isn't some mystical idea. It's how creation works. Every invention, every work of art, every building, they all existed in someone's mind before they existed in physical form. Your dreams are no different. They have to exist in your energy before they can exist in your reality. And sleep is when you get to practice that energy in its purest form. So tonight, don't just fall asleep wishing. Don't just fall asleep hoping. Fall asleep knowing. Not because you're forcing yourself to believe something false, but because you're choosing to align with the truth that your desires are already yours. They always have been. The only thing that's been missing is your recognition of that. When that clicks, when you truly understand that the universe isn't giving you what you want, but reflecting who you are, everything changes. Not tomorrow. Now this is the final key, the one that makes all the other pieces fall into place. You're not waiting for the universe to deliver. You're waiting for yourself to realize it already has. And once you do, the reflection has no choice but to change because the person standing in front of the mirror has changed. And that's when you understand it worked every single time. You just didn't see it yet. You've always had this. You just forgot how to use it. Tonight, don't sleep to escape. Sleep to create. Close your eyes knowing the universe is listening closer than you think. And when you wake up, don't look for What you just touched on is one of the most profound truths people spend their whole lives chasing, but rarely pause long enough to fully grasp. The universe is not a vending machine where you insert a desire and wait for it to drop. It is a mirror, and mirrors don't give you what you want. They give you who you are. That realization is not small, it is the final key. It's the piece of the puzzle that makes the rest of the picture suddenly make sense. Everything you've been asking for, everything you've been waiting for, has already been present. The only thing missing has been your recognition of it. And when that clicks, when you truly understand it, not just intellectually, but in your bones, everything shifts, not tomorrow, not in some far-off future, but now. The mistake so many make is believing that they are waiting for life to change, waiting for the universe to bring them something new, waiting for a sign, waiting for the right time. But the truth is, it has been working every single time. The opportunities, the lessons, the nudges, the synchronicities, they have always been there. You just didn't see them yet because your eyes were focused outward, expecting something to arrive instead of realizing it had already arrived within you. The reflection in the mirror could not change because the person standing in front of it had not changed. But the moment you shift, when you finally embody what you've been seeking, the reflection has no choice but to respond. This is why the power is not in waiting, but in recognizing. Recognition is creation. Recognition is manifestation. You are not waiting for the universe to hand you something. You are waiting for yourself to see what has always been in your grasp. And once you see it, once you live from that awareness, the outer world rearranges itself accordingly. What you thought was delay turns out to have been alignment. What you thought was absence turns out to have been presence all along, waiting for your acknowledgement. So tonight, don't fall asleep like you're running away from the day. Don't let your head hit the pillow in escape. Sleep is not an exit, it is a doorway. Sleep is a time when the subconscious takes the lead, when imagination and creation intertwine. When you align with possibility on levels your waking mind can barely comprehend. Tonight, sleep to create. Drift into it with the deep knowing that the universe is not distant, not indifferent, not delayed. It is listening closer than you think, closer than your own breath. And when morning comes, do not rush to search for proof in the outer world. Don't demand evidence before you allow belief. Instead, carry the quiet certainty that it has already been done. Live as though it is already here, because in truth, it always has been. That shift in awareness is the spark. That is the moment the mirror changes. That is when you finally understand. It worked every single time, you just hadn't seen it yet.